Last week's video was all about roosters and why I decided not to keep any of the cockerels from that hatch. Well, those cockerels have left the property now, and things are a lot less chaotic in the flock. 7 young roosters is quite a lot for any flock to have as part of its composition. Raising up chicks and getting the surpluses, the extras organized to leave the property takes quite a bit of time and energy, and that's something I've been running low on lately. So today I thought I'd talk about some of the realities that occur when you commit to doing things for yourself, to growing and producing things, whether it's cooking or gardening or raising chickens or preserving food. These are all hard things, and you have to show up and keep doing them. But I do think it's worth it. Being involved in producing the things that we humans need for sustaining life is hard work, both physically and mentally. There's a lot to do, a lot to learn, and a lot to keep track of. It's winter time here, and like I mentioned in a recent video, that's a time of year I like to take a pause to reflect and think and plan for the year ahead, because this is sort of the end of one growing season and the beginning of the next. And this year, for the coming year, I was thinking to myself, I might have to prioritize what can actually get done, because I'm starting to run low on time and run low on energy to get all the things done. So I did do a priorities list based on the things that were most important to me and what I enjoy the most. And at the top of the list, the things that I was absolutely going to continue no matter what, was the animals. So my chickens and going and milking the cow, because I love it, I enjoy it, and I really, really like taking care of animals. So that was sort of locked in, going to do that. Then the next thing that I really enjoy doing is preparing food and preserving food. So that's the common everyday food preserving things like making yogurt and butter and mayonnaise. And it's the longer term storage things like canning fruit and making passata and salsa. So I really enjoy doing those things, and I want to keep doing them. And then I thought, well, I do like to have fresh produce out of the garden. So I'll just keep like 2 or 3 of the garden beds up and producing for the fresh eating things. So I'd still have tomatoes and cucumbers and peppers, but just not the huge amount I usually grow, because I won't grow it for preserving. I'll just grow it for fresh eating. And the other garden beds, well, they can go into cover crops and the chickens can eat them, and they can just sort of take a pause and a rest. And this was all sounding really good in my head when I was thinking, yep, I can fit this all in. And I decided, because I do want to do the food preserving, that I would just buy the extra produce I would need to fill in the gap of what I wasn't going to grow for myself. And that was all well and good until I tasted the food that was on offer to buy that I didn't grow for myself. I was planning on having a supermarket tomato here to show you as a prop for this video, but then I remembered that I had actually thrown out all the supermarket tomatoes to the chickens because they'd been sitting in the crisper in the fridge for so long, because nobody wanted to eat them. Whenever we were like, oh, shall we have some tomatoes? We were like, nah, actually, we don't want them, because they just don't taste good. It's obviously winter, so I don't have any tomatoes growing here, so we can't go and get one from the garden. But we're so accustomed to how delicious homegrown tomatoes are that we just don't want to eat the ones from the supermarket. Now, there are better tomatoes available. I am very lucky. There are a lot of good food producers all around me, but they still can't compare to the food that I grow in my own garden. And that's because people producing food as their business, as their livelihood, they are going to have different priorities than I can have when I'm growing food for myself. Farmers and other food producers have to produce food at a price point that people are willing to pay for it. And in some cases, they don't set the price point themselves anyway. Somebody else does. And that means they can't put absolutely everything into that plant to make it the absolute most amazing tasting, nutrient-dense food that it can be. Because if they did that, then they'd have to sell it at a price that most people are not willing to pay for. But when you're growing it for yourself, you can do the work, you can put in the extra things that commercial producers don't have the time or the money to do. I'm just going to go off on a little bit of a tangent on this topic, and that is to talk really, really briefly about the plant health pyramid that has been designed by John Kemp, who runs the Advancing Eco-Agriculture, company. But I have listened to every single one of the podcasts that John Kemp produces, and that's where I've got a lot of my information about my growing systems. And anyway, I won't go into the whole plant health pyramid, but in a nutshell, it's basically a way to communicate the concept that plants can reach different levels of health and thus nutrient density and being super, super healthy for you when they have what they need to grow and be super amazing plants. And most producers are only going to be able to hit the bottom, the level 1 of the plant health pyramid, if even that, because they just don't have the opportunity to really be able to do the things that push plant health to the next level. Now, I'm sure some producers do, and if I could track down food that would consistently sort of hit the higher tiers of that pyramid, then I would absolutely go ahead and do that. But it's hard to get. It's hard to tell if it's going to be good. But if I'm doing it for myself, then I can dial in my plant health, because plants need quite a lot of things to be ready for them in their environment for them to be healthy. To have truly healthy plants, you need to have healthy soil. Now, plants and soil kind of exist together in a symbiotic relationship. The soil needs the plants, and the plants need the soil. They need each other for both of them to be healthy. But the soil is really where the plants can level up and reach their potential. And plants also need to have the nutrients that they need present in the soil or present in a way that they can get, whether that's by going onto their leaves for them to absorb. And that is where, when you're growing things for yourself, you can be observing really closely and putting that nutrition into the plants. So I have this little bag of plant micronutrients that I use when my plants need it, and whenever I think that I want to put it into the different blends that I put onto the soil at different seasons. And it can also go on as a liquid feed, and it can get in through the plant leaves and stuff like that. And it has, what has it got in it? It's got sulfur, iron, copper, manganese, zinc, boron, cobalt, and molybdenum. Now, those are all things that people don't necessarily think about when they're thinking about plant health, because we're so focused on that NPK kind of fertilizer equation that we often miss that plants need micronutrients as well. They need all those things in little tiny quantities, just like we do, in order to be able to run all their metabolic processes. And when you give the plants what they need, then they can be super, super healthy. And that then moves through the levels of sort of a growing system. The healthy plants are going to make healthy animals if the animals are eating the plants. And if we, the humans, are eating the plants, then we're going to be healthier as well. But those healthier animals are going to produce food for us that is healthier. Animals are fantastic at concentrating nutrients from the food that they eat. So the eggs that the chickens lay, the milk that the cow gives, and the meat, if we're going to eat the chickens, is all going to be of a much higher quality and taste better and have really, really good nutrient density. One of the superpowers that humans and animals have is being able to actually kind of work out the nutritional density of their food by how it tastes. So when something tastes really, really good and rich, then we know that it is good for us because that is where that nutritional density is sort of illustrated in the taste. So I have a few examples from my own flock and food production systems. And one of those examples is in the surplus roosters that get produced here. And they do get used for food once they've grown up. Now, processing and eating my own chickens is one of my goals, but given this whole video started out by talking about how I'm sort of out of time and energy, that's a goal for a little later. So what I do with my surplus cockerels is I get hold of a local family and say, hey, do you want to come and pick up my roosters? And they say, yes, we do. And this is a family that pretty much comes and picks up every single batch that I have, and they'll take however many that I have. And they travel a fairly long way to come and pick them up. So it's obviously worth it to them to come and get these, I assume, very good tasting chickens that I am producing here. The other example is about how the flock looks. I'm so used to seeing my chickens and they're beautiful and shiny and healthy most of the time that I'm kind of just like, oh, well, all chickens look like that. But I've had a couple of instances where a chicken has come into the property to join the flock. I mean, I think they came from the neighbors, but anyway, they just show up and decide to join in. And those chickens don't look so great when they first arrived. We actually had one chicken that came to join who we called Mangie chicken because she just looked mangy. She didn't look good. Her feathers didn't look good. She just looked rough and pretty tragic. And now you actually see her on the channel a lot because she's beautiful and healthy and she kind of just pops up wanting to be filmed constantly. And her name is still Mangie Chicken to keep track of who is who, but she really doesn't fit that description anymore. And more recently, another chicken decided to come and join, who I just called Ugly Chicken. Now, to be fair, I still kind of think she's a bit ugly because I'm not really a fan of the silky frizzle type, but that's a personal preference. But when she first arrived, she looked pretty terrible, and she definitely was ugly on all parameters, not just my personal opinion. But now she's been here for, I don't know, she's been kicking around for maybe a year just hanging out. She's been through a full molt, and now she's not really that ugly anymore. She's clean and her feathers are beautiful and she just looks really good. And now she fits in with the rest of the flock. So when chickens can eat food that really fulfills all of their nutritional requirements, which they are getting from a base of just the feed, but that's not where that sort of level up is coming from. That level up in their health and how vibrant and wonderful they look is coming from the whole backyard system, that I am able to spend the time putting down those foundational needs for the whole system to be healthy. And I didn't realize that while I've been chatting away to you, Mangie's actually been behind me this whole time. One of the hard things about doing this kind of work and staying motivated to keep doing this kind of work is that everything about growing and producing your own food and doing these kinds of systems is delayed gratification. There's no instant hit, generally speaking. You do a thing and then you have to wait quite a while for the results. And sometimes you can kind of get bogged down. You're sort of in the weeds, literally in some cases, where you just don't know where you're going or whether what you're doing is actually worth it or achieving anything. And it can be hard. It can be mentally hard to keep going. You know, you plant a fruit tree and you're going to have to wait a few years before you get any fruit off it. And I've just had a plum tree that I've been able to do the first big prune of it this this year. And that was really cool because I'm like, oh, this tree I planted like 4 or 5 years ago is now big enough that I can do this first aggressive pruning on it. So the things do start coming, but when it's one thing at a time and year after year where you're putting your system together, it can be hard to stay motivated. But what I find is that something usually comes along just at that moment where you're asking yourself, oh my goodness, is it worth it? Will I keep going? Something always comes along. Now, for me this year, I was feeling pretty tired and pretty unmotivated to get out in the garden and do what needed to be done to set the next season up. But what happened for me was actually garlic this year. Garlic gave me my little push to keep going. And first of all, I rescued the garlic that was starting to get a little bit old and starting to sprout from last summer's harvest and turned it into a garlic powder to use for cooking for the rest of the year. Hopefully that'll get us through to harvest time next summer. And it tastes amazing, like incredible. I've never tasted anything as good as this garlic powder that I just whizzed it up in the Thermomix and dehydrated it and crushed it up, and that's garlic powder. Now, of course, I've bought a lot of garlic powder in my time, but nothing compared to that. So that was a little bit of a boost of like, okay, it is worth it. It is worth it to keep growing my own garlic. And then the second garlic thing happened was I did get out there. I did plant the garlic in the middle of winter. I got it in. And every single clove grew. Now, that is not something that happens all the time. It is pretty unusual to get a 100% strike rate on anything that you plant. And this year, every single clove of garlic that I planted grew. And that was just the little boost that I needed to say to myself, the system is working. All of the hard work that I've put in and I continue to put in is working. The garlic that I'm growing and the plants that I'm growing in general, they are leveling up in health and vitality. The soil is leveling up in health and vitality, and I'm getting good success. And that you need those little moments to keep you going. Sometimes living a good life comes down to persistence through periods of time that are less than ideal, that feel like too much, that start to feel like it's not worth it anymore. But keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you will get those moments that show you that this is so clearly, definitely worthwhile.